Welcome to Daily Meditation with Sangha Live.
Lovely, very warm welcome to everyone. I hope that all is at least moderately okay for you as you settle in and arrive into the Sangha Live session. As always, it's really lovely to be here and to be tuning in and connecting with you. I was just listening out to the sounds of the birds, and then I realized, I should probably close my window so that you won't hear the traffic as well going by. So I was just had a little rush at the last minute. And something I want to be exploring today is this balance of spaciousness and focus. So one of the things that can happen when we get more spacious is, we come a little bit more passive and with our kind of interest and exploration here. And over the next couple of days, I want to really kind of emphasize our capacity to be more spacious. And slowly we'll kind of bring that into a sense of greater intimacy and connection. So we are on the third day of our exploration into caring resolve, and we're in a kind of a broader stream within Sangha Live of exploring interconnection. And I think you'll see how it all kind of comes together. But so far this week, and I think it's really good to keep going with this, we've been exploring bringing our intentions to life. And actually there's a really lovely double meaning there, isn't there? For some reason my brain is always on the lookout for double meaning, and you can get various you fall into joke making about it, but I'm quite serious about actually the double meanings here of bringing our intentions to life. Means bringing them to the life that we're living, but also we bring them alive through keeping them in mind and all of that. So intentions sprout into life, and they actually come to life. We bring them to all of our life. So you can just linger in that if you want. But so we've been doing this primarily through our attitude, through that kind of atmosphere of our intentions and our attention there. Yeah. And we've been exploring this a bit around when we opened around the painful yesterday, if you were here for that, allowing us to approach it more sustainably. So the kind of the issue of the painfulness somewhat is in that narrowing down. And I want to open it out a little bit more around the spaciousness. When we open around what feels painful, we'll actually get to a place where it doesn't feel quite so painful for us if we can keep opening out there, because it isn't that everywhere is equally painful, really. And that's quite interesting to see, especially if we're in quite an exaggerated mindset and if everything's awful, this kind of thing. It's like, well, what about the people who are doing something about the awful stuff in the world? Or what about the other parts of this body that, maybe actually feel okay? Can we include that without ignoring, without saying, well, I don't need to pay attention to that. I can just pay attention to the good news or the nice areas of the body. So when we're able to do that, there's less reactivity. And that's really key. That's what's really key. We're opening out the possibility space here. Yeah. So why would we open the spaciousness? Well, as I've mentioned from the first day, and it was also there in the description, the space matters, and we can be spacious without being distant. So that's kind of the direction where we're heading to. What you might discover is more spaciousness already just leads to more connection, more intimacy, more sensitivity. And it's almost that the lack of spaciousness was blocking that. Yeah. But we're not going to rush towards the intimacy element, because I think we actually have to understand there's kind of layers and levels to the skill. So can we actually just practice the spaciousness element today? But I wanted to name, we're not just doing this to kind of chill out and be careless. It probably already implies the caring, and you'll be able to feel that. So what do we mean by lack of spaciousness? Well, just to go over it briefly, and then we'll kind of go over it pragmatically before we step into the meditation. So we might not actually notice that our ideas have become quite narrow. You know, while we're in those ideas, we just, well, this is how it is, you know, those types of things. Our sense of things, what we pay attention to, what we think is the world that we live in, what we attend to. And I'll go into this a bit more, but just kind of think about, do you have that sense of your being kind of being up here behind the face a lot of the time? Almost, I don't know what it means, like the self is being carried around by the rest of the body. Do we tend to have this sense, I am up to, you know, the bag of skin that I'm in, you know, to use kind of coarse language, you know? Interesting how that kind of flips around when we introduce a different idea. The interconnection opens consciousness. Yeah. Or I'm the whole of the body, whole of the body. Yeah. And this is something we can do, you know, with how do we attend, you know, done this a little bit, listening to wider sounds, almost distant sounds. Yeah. So the spaciousness element, it's not that difficult to play with when we notice is that, oh, actually I'm not just in the face. Why don't I see myself as more? I'm not just a disconnected, isolated, you know, entity here. I'm an interplay, interconnection. I can see in different ways, right? So there's vast differences we can make. You know, we can really, really go big and significant. So it's actually important within the spaciousness to also have a spaciousness in time. You know, we're not rushing to the end. We start where we are. Oh, how is it here? How is it here? So that we can be tolerant, non-reactive. Oh, damn, you know, I'm all up narrow and in the space. You know, that's a very narrow way of meeting towards spaciousness, right? So what I like to just take a few moments speaking about is something almost certainly shared with Sangha Life Sangha before. It's something I like to call wise acceptance. The reason why I put the word wise before acceptance is because it can be misleading, that maybe we may even think that acceptance is the goal of the path. Just accept everything. And just accept everything at times is a really appropriate piece of advice. And acceptance can feel really effective in our practice because some essential elements are always being left out. Yeah. Well, I say always, but like often, very often, there's something we're not accepting here. And if we actually accepted that, then, you know, we can move forwards, things can open up, things become more free. So, okay. Yeah. I didn't accept that you can't always get what you want. And I do accept that, you know. So there's a wise placement of acceptance, but it's certainly not the goal of life, I would say, and it's certainly not the goal of these teachings to accept everything. Yeah, what would that mean? You know that saying, I hope it's not offensive to anyone, only dead fish go with the flow. Yeah, and it's not our goal in life to be, you know, incapacitated, unable to interact with the world skillfully, stand up for the things that we believe in, and you know, speak up, act on behalf of. I think act up means something else, isn't it? Anyway, so what we're being asked to do, which is become familiar with how we are, and when it's right, transform it. So I thought about these 3 steps, which I call wise acceptance. I have to accept it's like this right now. it's like this right now. This is how it is. But right now, not forever, right now. And I accept this is how it is right now. I also accept that how it is, both intrapsychically, how it appears in my consciousness, is dependent on all kinds of things. It's a dependent arising and a dependent fading. So it really depends on how I meet it, how that atmosphere of attention is, how those intentions are coming into being. And if it's a happening in the world, I accept this is dependent on all kinds of things. And with time, with spaciousness, with sensitivity, I will see more and more of what this depends upon, right? So I also accept that. I don't accept this is a, unfixable, fixed thing that's always been this way. That wouldn't make sense. So I accept it's like this right now. And I accept that it's dynamically coming into being, and it will be dynamically changing and fading. And the third element of acceptance is I accept the invitation to participate. I'm already involved. We're all involved. That idea of interconnection also means we're all involved in, the joys and sorrows of this existence. I'm involved in shaping my experience. And I accept the invitation to participate. Yeah. And so that's kind of the second and third part, moving through actually some of the wisdom teachings. So the second part of acceptance there, I accept that this is dependently arising, dependently fading. Some of you may recognize from the second noble truth, where the Buddha asks, what's this dukkha depending on? What's it leaning on? What's it arising with? And what would it fade with out? Yeah. And this kind of thirsting reactivity element of the experience that leads to the stress, the distress, the suffering. And the third part, I accept that invitation to act, is that ka in karuna, the moved, being moved in the caring resolve, in the compassion. We feel moved to do, to ease, to relieve. So obviously what we see there and what the Buddha pointed out, that kind of level of reactivity in the stress, the distress, the suffering is implicit. It's what it arises with. And some of you may remember in the equanimity translation, there was that non-reactivity. Radiant non-reactivity. And so you can kind of move towards non-reactivity. You can also replace reactivity with kindness and care. Which is not the absence of reactivity necessarily, but kind of the opposite of reactivity. So rather that push, that pull, actually holding, welcoming, releasing. And have that different attitude we can bring in. And we'll do a bit of that in the meditation as well. And the other thing, we already kind of mentioned it, but it just really hone in on it, is when dukkha, when stress, distress, suffering arises, there is contraction. In that translation of equanimity, of radiant non-reactivity, that radiant is what I was kind of wanting to go towards, that kind of boundlessness, that expanse, that increase, that spaciousness that comes. That including more of interconnection. I'm practicing for more than just myself. There's a benefit, a beauty to holding more in this consciousness as I practice. Right? And so kind of those elements together, that's what I want us to practice today. So we're not kind of opening up a blank space, maybe kind of opening up a non-reactive or even kind and caring space. When there's a lot of dukkha, stress, distress, there's that very limited view of possibilities, So all the features, the characteristics of freedom, they open together. You could notice any of these happen as dukkha fades, as the reactivity fades, or as the space opens. It's like, now there's room to play, to do more things, see more possibilities. And I'll mention a few of them, but more boundlessness, more care, less reactivity, more subtle experience opens up this way. We can see if that's something we can tune into. However we've come into the Dharma hall today, however we've arrived in the Sangha Live session in this moment. There's always something we can do. There's always a possibility we can open out things. And once we start opening out things a little bit, we notice, well, I can open them out a little bit more, open them out a little bit more. And this kind of greater and greater well-being comes in. Yeah. And this is something we can kind of carry with us through the rest of the day. When we notice, oh, I've shrunk back up into the head. There's a whole body here. There is a whole body. Feel the space around us, the sense of air or space, how that air, that influx of air is fluid, a flux, a flow, that air as a rhythm, the felt sense of the room, imagined or not. You know, it can influence us if we open up to include more. Yeah. So there's a really great question here, struggling to see how this applies to climate change and world events. I'll explain that shortly. Yeah. But if you allow yourself to be, resourceless and feel that you're, unable to make a difference in your own experience, it can feel difficult to be able to see how we can make a difference in the global state. So we can notice more. We can notice all of the body. We can notice more of the space around us. Yeah. We can also listen to the most distant and quiet sounds. And this kind of does two freeing things. It opens us up and allows things to become more subtle. And one more is anything that arises can be seen as just being an element in awareness, which is a way of seeing it. It's an appearance in awareness. And this awareness is revealing all things, can be like awareness, letting things appear. Yeah. Awareness just reveals things, and we can adopt that as a lens, as an appearance. We can see how we can allow things to appear. All of it, yeah. And when we can allow it to appear, we can allow ourselves to meet it well. Yeah. All the ways. And it will come down to this. And I really appreciate that comment. So, I'm struggling to see how this applies to climate change and world events and things like that. I can hear that. I can see how that could be. But why not? Why not practice so that we're in the best possible place for this? Yeah. Would having more resourcefulness in ourselves actually contribute to more well-being for all beings? Yeah. Or would being practicing ways that kind of deplete us and break us down and limit our capacities be more beneficial? Just focus in on what's wrong. So we're not ignoring any of this, but we're also not, kind of diving in unresourced into all of this. And that's what I want us to explore today. If you're willing to, we can open into this sense of spaciousness, allowing for this sense of the beauty of our interconnectedness, which will also allow us to bring our capacities and cares into a meeting with this direct moment. This is how it is right now. It is dependently arising. It does depend on myriad conditions, not all of which we can change. But I accept the invitation to participate, to change those things that I can change. Yeah. And so let's try this out as a practice. And I look forward to picking up a little bit more about this question of how this can meet world events. So as before, let's tune in, feel how our intention, let's say we're going to establish the intention over this time to meet all things with kindness and care in a spacious way. So what's a posture for you that's going to be supportive of that? It might not be the same posture you used yesterday or in your last practice session. We want a variety of postures in our lives. There's reclining, there's standing, could be some kind of movement, seeing for yourself and settling into that shape. within this posture, within this moment, if you're able to be in the body sense store, we can just check if we find ourselves more in the head, more in a single location, if we can, through the breath or through a wider sense of sensitivity, start to come into the whole of the body. Extend it just particularly by feeling the lowest part of the body, maybe the feet, soles of the feet. The back of the body. The fingertips and the whole of the arms. Whole of the legs. While keeping a sense of the whole body here, we can just tune into the rhythm of the breath or the dance of sensations. Do the usual thing of resting the attention on one element of our experience and just seeing where we can come to in that way. In this meditation, we are going to come towards more listening as well, but if the body is not the right place for you, feel free to go ahead to the listening sphere and letting it be relatively open, relatively sensitive, and we'll be joining you there shortly. Let's just have a few minutes of settling, stabilizing experience, recognizing how we're doing in the body, heart, mind now. Accepting it's like this right now. And then opening to the whole of the body, or if we're already in the sounds, opening to the whole of the sphere of sounds. And seeing if we can steady the attention, maybe for 3 breaths at a time. So if the mind is busy, racing, or the experience is a bit dull, maybe it's like this right now. Can we accept that this is the experience we're experiencing? We don't reject it. We might also consider how it plays upon, influences, and is shaped by a sense of narrowness. And what happens if we try and extend, expand the whole body, maybe even the space around the body, and having a feeling that as we open around, we're not forcing, we're allowing things to become more open. We're in the listening. So it's like this right now. This is the way life is unfolding for us right now. That quality of our capacity to accept can be used skillfully here. Not to resist, not to deny. Not to ignore that it's happening in a space that maybe is too narrow for it, needs more space. Just as we've explored, if we're meeting something painful or unpleasant, it needs more space. We come out around that, and if we are getting stuck on a pain or there's something unpleasant that really is grabbing attention a lot, we might specifically want to open out around that. But if just opening the sense of awareness is working for us, we can do that. So if it's something painful, keeps coming back, find it in the body if you can. And then open around that, open the space around that. Giving that room, but also we're coming out to where maybe it starts to feel more tolerable, that we can meet it at this level. And breathing or intending an attitude of kindness and care, however spacious we need to be. And if there isn't something like that at this time, we can continue exploring breath or sounds in a wider awareness. Whole body, open awareness. We notice if the attention has become more narrow, the experience becomes more limited. An image I like to use is imagining a hot air balloon that's tied down to the ground. We just untie the ropes and it will lift, naturally kind of expanding, filling the balloon, expanding and lifting into the air. Similarly, let's not tie awareness down to some narrow constraint. It's like we untie the ropes of attention. Don't keep pulling it in, letting it expand into the whole body, into the space around the body. We're not ignoring anything within this whole body sphere, or if we're with the sounds, within the sounds. But we're not intentionally tying it down to one element. Letting experience breathe, letting the breath breathe, listening, listen. When we notice that we're pulling awareness back in again, we can just have that sense, if that makes any sense, that kind of untying the knots of attention, opening the space. Letting what appears within this space to be seen as an appearance in a kind awareness, an awareness imbued, fragranced perhaps. It's almost like we're dropping in tinctures of this kindness and care, release. And as I said, we'll come on to the sounds, and if it's okay, we'll start with the body sense. It's having a broad sense of the body appearing in this larger awareness. Everything that we can, meeting it with kindness and care. Welcomed. Almost, you can say it to yourself internally even. You're welcomed to be here. Allowed to be the way you are, allowed to change from the way you are. Welcomed and allowed. So some parts of the practice, just checking we're untying that awareness, allowing it to be larger than it normally is, maybe vast, spacious. And the sensations that are occurring, rippling through, welcomed and allowed. Cared for and released. So staying with the tactile body sense door for a moment more. Opening that awareness through the whole of the body, space around the body. If you can feel into that, fragrancing with a quality of kindness and care. That maybe everything, painful or delightful or unnoticed, can be welcomed and allowed. cared for, and released. It's open to hearing consciousness, allowing hearing consciousness, awareness to come into that realm, tuned into that sense door, opening to the most wide way of listening we could imagine, listening above, behind, in front and out to the sides, the most distant sounds, and including a sense of this whole wide, vast awareness, also fragranced with a kindness. You can welcome and allow any vibration, heard as sound, a caring awareness that also releases, that care of releasing, welcoming, allowing, caring, and releasing. And if it's helpful, you can just repeat those words, keep that awareness vast, and try not to get stuck on any particular sound, but allowing it to express and move. When the awareness shrinks, having that sense that I don't need to tie it down to just that. Untie those knots, allow it to open. We're imagining, feeling, sensing that awareness enjoys to expand. If we don't pull it in, how vast can it go? Above, below, all around. To welcome and allow, to care and release. all that appears. And just coming into the last few minutes, we'll just include the other sense doors one by one. And tune into any sense of the aromatic, the smell sense door. Letting that become vast. Whether we can smell distinctly or not, it's quite a subtle sense door even for those who have a good sense of smell, a clear sense of smell at this time. Welcoming aromas, whether we can pick them out or not. And releasing. What about the sense of flavor, that kind of sibling sense door of the tongue and taste? Letting that be vast, spacious, and kind. And from there we can tune into the visual sense door. If eyes are closed, you don't need to open them. Just have that sense of the pattern of light on the eyelids. If the eyes are open, seeing. This is visual appearances in visual consciousness. Maybe even detuning the eyes a little can help, and just welcoming, allowing, caring for, and releasing, whatever that might mean, as the visual realm flows through. Allowing it to be vast, and with a real wide spaciousness. You can even remember how it was to listen to the sounds with a wide spaciousness. And come into the sense of the intellect, the thinking, the emotions, the moods that pass through, like a big vast sky of awareness. And these birds, these clouds just move through. This weather moves through in an atmosphere of kindness and care, not grabbing onto any of them, really staying with that vast sky, welcoming, allowing, caring for, and release. And from there, opening the awareness around all of these sense doors, all of this sensitivity. Just for a moment or two, radiant with the sense of kindness and care. allowing and releasing all to pass in, to pass through, wherever the attention lands, keeping it vast, even if it's quiet, even if it's busy. Allowing ourselves also to notice in this vast, caring awareness a sense of the vastness, a sense of the caring, and allowing those to be held in a vast, caring awareness, sense of kindness into kindness, spaciousness into spaciousness. And letting yourself find yourself in the midst of this. Find how you feel in this moment and meeting the whole of you in this kind, caring, receptive, and spacious awareness. And in your own time, in your own way, we'll begin to move from this more secluded practice into this community space, and preparing ourselves, bringing these qualities with us into the world, into our day. Thank you for your practice, for your presence, for your kindness and care.
Today's podcast is an offering to you from our archive of freely available live daily classes. We make wisdom teachings and meditations as freely available as possible to as many people as wish to practice. You can help ensure we can continue to support a worldwide Sangha by leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts, by sharing this with someone who'd be interested, and by offering a small financial support at sangha.live/donate.